Giordano and the Nighthawks.
Thank you so much. Welcome to Birdland. We're happy you're here. We're the Nighthawks, music of the 1920s and 30s, and I'm your band leader for this segment. I'm Vince Giordano. Thank you. That last tune that we played was a kind of a little comment on how hot it is here in New York. It's called 90 in the Shade. It was recorded by a guy named Doc Dougherty in 1929. Well, it's like 102 in the shade here in New York right now. So we're off by about 12 degrees, but I don't think it matters that much. And we had some nice solos there from Sam Chess on the trombone, John Kelso on the trumpet, and Dan Pearson on the tenor saxophone. And that's Peter Yaron over there on the piano. And hey, Sam, yeah, your trombone sounded very unique tonight. What were you doing there? New trombone?
No, not a new trombone. It's the megaphone.
Oh, the megaphone. What's that about?
Well, I'll show you.
Show us. All right. Wow. How about that? How does he do that? Why does he do that? No. What happens if you don't use that?
Yeah, without it, it sounds like.
Yeah. Ooh. Wow. I've had some students that sound like that. But anyway, that's the past. We opened up with a big fanfare, in case any of you people were wondering, written by the great Jimmy McHugh, as the called the 1936 Universal Fanfare, and it needed a timpani, and we just happened to have a wonderful percussionist with us tonight, as he normally is. Paul Wells back there on the timpani. Yay! So we have this wonderful audience here at Birdland, West 44th Street, every Monday and Tuesday, and tonight we are broadcasting on Radio Free Birdland. So if you're out there watching, thank you, hello, and applaud louder so we can hear you. That's people on the line. Anyway, if you know someone that might enjoy the program, please send it along. Clip the little URL, whatever. All right, here's a hot one. Speaking of 90 in the Shade, this was done by the Casaloma Orchestra back in 1930, 1929. It's called the Casaloma Stomp. 1, 2, 1, 2. Casaloma Stomp, played by the Casaloma Band, originally written by their banjo guitar player, a guy named Gene Gifford. Now, you know, folks, I've only had a little sip, actually a big sip here on my Nighthawk Birdland cider, and I don't know, but it seems to me that two guys in this band look very similar. No, not you guys. No. Try again. No, sit. Try again. No, not you guys. No. Let's try. Third time usually works. Oh, look! It's the Anderson brothers. Oh, all right. That's Will Anderson on lead alto and Pete Anderson on second alto or third alto. He plays both, you know. You never know what they're going to do. So, you know, I like to introduce these fellas by giving them a microphone and telling let them tell their story, what they do when they're Nighthawks, and they some very creative things. So let's, and we call it the Nighthawk Shopping Network, which you might know about. And here's Will Henderson to be the first guy on the first commercial.
Thank you, Uncle Vince. Well, tonight we have a merchandise table in the back, and we're going to talk more about it later, but I wanted to introduce the first piece of merchandise we have available this evening. Now, this type of merchandise comes way before the CD and way before the record. Actually, back in the 1400s with the Gutenberg printing press, they were printing books. And I have a brand new book that I wrote that just was recently released. It's called Songbook Summit, 15 Pioneers of American Sound. And it chronicles the life stories of our great American songwriters and jazz musicians like Benny Goodman, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, George Gershwin, and let's see, who else? Lady Gaga?
No.
Anyway, check that out. It's available in the back. Also, I will be here on this stage along with my twin brother Peter for 6 consecutive shows the weekend of July 4th, and we'll be paying tribute to the great Artie Shaw. So check that out. Thank you.
All right, that's Will Anderson. Nice. Well, you know, I kind of had a little bird that told me that you guys are going to be coming in tonight. So I figured it would be a great song. And it's a song that Fat Swallow used to do back in the 30s called I Wish I Were Twins. And nice. Now, unfortunately, I can't sing it because it's not in my key. It's written by a guy named Joseph Meyer, who wrote a ton of songs, California, Here I Come. It's 1934. So let's play an introduction, and the full band will play a chorus. And then on the second chorus, the bottom line, you guys trade little 2 bars, and we'll play it down, and then we cut right to the last 21. Have you got that? That's the rehearsal and the performance. Here it is. Good luck, everybody. I wish I were twins. 1, 2, 1, 2. Twins. That's Will and Pete Anderson there. Man, oh man, that was a great rehearsal and performance at the same time. All right. All right. Well, I'm glad someone requested that. We're going to go back to the 1920s right now and feature a song that was done by a guy named Frankie Trumbauer. Frankie Trumbauer had a wonderful band in many different places, but when he made this recording, he was in New York with fellas like Joe Venuti and Bix Beiderbecke and Adrian Rollini and Chauncey Morehouse, tons and tons of great people. And this is written by Frank Trumbauer and drummer Chauncey Morehouse. It's called Three Blind Mice. But it's not the Three Blind Mice as a kid's song like that. It's something different. And the great Jan Stolberg from Czech Republic took this off for us way back in the old days. Three Blind Mice. Let me take my cap off. 1, 2, 1, 2. Blind Mice by Frankie Trumbauer and Chauncey Morehouse. That's a good old group, and that had a great guitar solo originally done by Eddie Lang, but he couldn't make it tonight, so that's Arnson playing on the guitar, the acoustic guitar. Yeah. And let's see, we had a wonderful trumpet solo originally done by Bix Beiderbecke. Bix Beiderbecke, the wonderful cornet player from Davenport, and that was John Eric Kelso playing. Yeah. And all you folks out there who might be going to the Midwest very soon, there's a wonderful Bix Beiderbecke festival that happens in Davenport, Iowa. Is anyone here from the Midwest tonight? Okay, John Kelso's in the Midwest, but you live here now. Anyway, we've been there. It's fantastic. It's all inside, lots of air conditioning, and a lot of great music celebrating Bix. If you go, say hello to Josh Duffy. He's got a wonderful band there playing that music. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about John Kelso, so let's give him the microphone and let's see what he's got to say.
All right, thanks, Vince. So in addition to playing here, excuse me, on Mondays and Tuesdays, I have a Sunday steady gig that's been going now for 18 years. And that's at a place called the Ear Inn.
Hey, you've been there.
Yeah, it's a great place. It's one of the oldest and best bars in the city. And we call the group the Ear Regulars, naturally. And and we have a new CD that we're really happy about. It's called Live at the Ear Inn, the Ear Regulars. And it just happens to be available in the back next to the other products. Take a look. Thank you.
Hey, John Kelso. Here's a song that was done by Fletcher Henderson in 1931. Fletcher Henderson had one of the great bands here in New York. He made lots of records, had Louis Armstrong in the band, and Coleman Hawkins, and Don Redman, and many, many great stars. But this is a funny little tune here called My Sweet Tooth Says I Wanna, but My Wisdom Tooth Says No. My dentist always asks me to do this for him when I come in for a checkup. I hope he's watching the broadcast so I don't have to do it the next time. 1, 2, 1, go. Says I wanna, but my wisdom tooth says no. In my heart I feel like I'm willing. I'm no eeny meeny, you know. The sweet tooth says I wanna, but my wisdom tooth says no. Oh, oh, there's really two sides to me. Oh, oh, you've only made one agree. Get waiting is killing. Can't you see I'm raring to go? My sweet tooth says I wanna, but my wisdom tooth says no. Sweet Tooth Says I Wanna. We have to be one of the few bands playing that tune here on West 44th Street in New York City. Folks listening in, thanks for listening in on our wonderful Radio Free Birdland channel. Please feel free to forward, and please come to see us sometime, you know. We miss you, you know, even though we never met you. How can you miss someone if you never met it? That's Andy Stein back there at the hot violin. Yeah. And John Kelso. And some hot Rex Stewart style trumpet. Hey, we're going to do a blues for you right now. Thank you. One of the big names, important names in early jazz was a guy named Joseph Oliver, Joe Oliver, also known as King Oliver. Trumpet man from New Orleans. He wrote a lot of great jazz repertoire, had one of the great early jazz bands, and was very important because he brought Louis Armstrong out of New Orleans to join him in Chicago. Louis didn't want to go, and I'm glad that it worked. You know, it was like that trying to get John Kelso out of Detroit, Michigan. I kept saying, please come. Gee, I don't know. Everything's good here. Like, no, it'll be better in New York. But anyway, and he did, and that's what happened. But I'm not Joe Oliver. I'm just whoever I am. So after Louis left, King Oliver decided to form a band like this, a big 11-piece band, and they recorded in Chicago. And here's one of the good ones that he wrote called Snag It. Blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's Joe Boga playing that King Oliver part. Man, he snagged it. And that was Sam Chess on the trombone with the big chorale. Man, it was like we went to church or something like that. That's how Louis used to say it, church. And guys on the clarinets, I really appreciate you playing with that old, authentic vibrato. Could you give me that low stuff there, that boo, 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 the way that kind of boils like in a pot of water. Let's hear a little of those clarinets. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. People say, why does music sound different on those old recordings? Well, first of all, it was recorded with kind of inferior microphones like what they have today, not live, but also the players had different approaches to this music. It was almost like a different language, where Sam played that wonderful vibrato in there, and so did Will Anderson and the clarinets, and that's part of the whole deal. So that's all. Class dismissed. Okay, there you go. Okay, let's play some Ellington for the folks right now, and this is something from 1930 or so. Duke Ellington kept this number in the book throughout his whole career. He just kept changing it, modifying it, and with different sizes of bands and stuff that he had. This is called Rockin' in Rhythm, and this is a Herb Gardner transcription. Herb Gardner, thank you, up in Boston. 2, 1, 2. Rockin' in Rhythm by Duke Ellington. Woo, nice. Sam Chess, you know, and Ellington had a trombone player called Tricky Sam Natton. Tricky Sam Natton. We got our own Tricky Sam. That's Tricky Sam Chess. He's keeping that name there. There you go. All right. All right. And that was great having Will Anderson play the clarinet. I believe that was Barney Bigard back then. Is that true? Could that be?
Whatever you say, boss.
It sounds like it to me, but I could be wrong. Okay. All right. Before we venture on, we get requests, and you know normally the Nighthawk thing is we take requests, but we don't play them. But actually, this is a nice tune. This is 330 Red in the hymnal. Guys, go to the later part, the Second Testament. And written by Hoagie Carmichael with Frank Lesser doing the words. And it was done in a film, I think the film was called Thanks for the Memory. And Bob Hope and Shirley Ross had a little back and forth on it. Well, they couldn't show up tonight either, you know, I mean, come on. It's called Two Sleepy People. Two Sleepy, now don't fall asleep on me out there. So we'll keep it a little brisker than Bob and Shirley did. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. out of cigarettes, holding hands and yawning, look how late it gets. Two sleepy people by dawn's early light, and too much in love to say goodnight. Here we are, in the cozy chair, picking on a wishbone from the frigid air. Two sleepy people with nothing to say, and too much in love to break away. You remember the nights we used to linger in the hall? Father didn't like you at all. You remember the reason we married in the fall? To rent this little nest and get a bit of rest. Well, here we are, just about the same. Foggy little fella, drowsy little dame. Two sleepy people by dawn's early light, and too much in love to say goodnight. Nice, all right. A little change of pace. That's for an anniversary out there. Happy anniversary. Okay. Well, let's see now. I guess we could do this one we have planned. We talked about Joe Oliver. Remember, class? We're going to give a little quiz at the end of this, so I'll help you. I want everyone to pass and get maybe even a gold star. Who knows? But we talked about Louis Armstrong and King Oliver, the wonderful relationship that they had. And Louis, I think, really looked at Joe Oliver like a musical father. He had, of course, Louis had a father, but he didn't know him. He kind of split. So Joe took that spot, and Louis was always talking about Papa Joe right to the end of his life. So when he got in the studio in 1928, he rounded up some of the great musicians around Chicago, like Earl Father Hines and Zooty Singleton, and a whole bunch more, and they said, let's do one for Papa Joe. Let's do the West End Blues. While we're talking about Louis Armstrong, I just want to mention that I finally got cards from the Louis Armstrong house that are at the merch table. So you've come to Birdland, which is a good step. Thanks for coming and supporting this wonderful venue. But you should get out to see the Louis Armstrong house. It's in Queens. You take the subway out there. It's not hard to get to. And you'll thank me very much. And just say Vince sent you. It won't get you any discount, but I'm just kidding. And anyway, check that out. Anyway, here's the West End Blues, and here's John Kelso to tell you all about it. Sanchez. How about those clarinets now? Yeah. Peter Yaron doing the Earl Father Hines solo. Give him a nice hand. All right, John. John Kelso. All right, man. It was a very important piece of music for jazz and for also Louis Armstrong. So much written about it. Google it. Say West End Blues. He's like, oh man, they wrote a lot of stuff. Okay, that was Sam Chess on that beautiful trombone solo. And yeah, and you might have noticed the clarinets picked up their megaphones on that. They weren't trying to do Rudy Valley. It was something that I decided to add to the band. They really went on the original date, so we're looking for another movie. So, hello out there, Hollywood. We're available for some weird scenes, musical scenes, that is, okay. The clarinet megaphone. You got to clarify how weird you want to get these days in the film business. Anyway, one of the great pianist of the 1920s. I consider him with quotes, a modern jazz pianist in the 20s because he was so inventive and a very, very special man. And that was Earl Father Hines. And like I say, he couldn't make it tonight. So Peter Yaron did the work. Yes, yeah, Peter. And then we get to the percussion, and Zooty Singleton was the original drummer on that date. And he had these little cymbals that were in vogue at that time. They were called Baccarat cymbals. A couple of bands had them. The Ellington Band with Sonny Greer, he had a set of them, and a few other bands. It was the thing to do in vogue, to be up and hip, and then it went sort of out of fashion, and we couldn't find one. We finally found a set, and here is Paul Wells to demonstrate the Baccarat cymbals. All right, that's enough. All right, thanks. Good. We always like to mention, this is my part of the Nighthawks Home Shopping Network, that we have recorded the West End Blues. And it looks like this. It's a great cover here by Joe Buzzum. Joe Buzzum, he's a little under the weather. Joe, get better. Make more artwork and make the world happy. But anyway, this is a piece of vinyl, but it's not recorded at 33 or 45 RPM. It's 78 RPM. What? Yeah. So I always mention that because if you buy it, you got to have those 3 speeds on the turntable, or else you'll be excited. You unwrap it and you put it on the turntable and say, "Oh boy, the Nighthawks! I can't wait to." And it sounds like this, really slow, very slow. Yes, take no sin to take off your skin and dance around your bones. Okay, that's enough. Thank you. Okay, so that's our little warning that you got to have the 3 speeds, and you can't play it on an old wind-up 78 machine. Or actually, you can, but just once it'll get all shredded, and that's not so good. I mean, you can come back and buy another one. Okay. Yeah. Hey, give John a little rest. Let's play this tune we were supposed to play last night, but we ran out of time. It's called the Tiger Rag, but it was taken off a sort of a small jazz session that Jimmy Dorsey did in England in, I believe, 1931. And he got a bunch of British musicians together. I think it was Spike Hughes and his little combo. And the Dorsey brothers loved the tune, The Tiger Rag. When they had their first band there in Scranton, it was called the Wild Canaries. And they used the Tiger Rag. And Tommy played a trumpet solo on record of the Tiger Rag. And of course, Jimmy loved the Tiger Rag. They just loved the Tiger Rag. They couldn't get enough of it. So here's Jimmy's solo, orchestrated for 3 reeds and a little brass background by Herb Gardner. We call it Jimmy's Tiger. 1, 2, 1, 2. Dan Pearson there on the tenor saxophone, and of course clarinet, and our wonderful Anderson brothers doing the Jimmy's Tiger. And yeah, Jimmy used that solo, that last chorus, on lots of recordings. If you listen to the Paul Whiteman recording of Sensation Stomp, he does that same solo. He loved that solo, loved that tune. All right.
Vince, can we get paid by the note?
Yes, we'll work that out later. I might trade you for Nighthawk LPs or 78s. Okay, it's cheaper that way. Anyway, those are a lot of notes. All right, let's put the scores away, the old music, and we're going to play some old-time traditional jazz. And here's John Kelso to come up with something.
How about the one step?
Oh, the original Dixieland Jazz Band One Step.
That one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, when this band from New Orleans came up, from New Orleans here to New York, they made the first jazz recordings here in New York for the Victor Talking Machine Company. That's what they used to call it, a talking machine. And they didn't do much talking. They played a lot of music on that, and they did a whole bunch of great tunes that are the main diet for trad jazz for the last 100 plus years. So here it is, ODJB One Step. That's B flat?
Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2. Yes, Sam. Andy Stein. Original Dixieland Jazz Band, one step. Pete Anderson there on the clarinet, John Kelso on the trumpet, Sam Chess playing the trombone. And here's a solo that comes from our banjo guitar man who doesn't get too many solos with the big band, but we're so happy that he brought his beautiful banjo, which he's going to show you, and also he's going to do some talking. Let's give a big hand for Arndt Arnson.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So I do have a personal announcement to make, if you don't mind. I just became a father, actually.
Wow!
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's the sound he made when he came out. Anyway, to help support my growing family, I too am also hawking stuff at the back merch table. I've got a vinyl record at 33 RPM and a CD for sale. If you still own a CD player, a lot of people have them in older model cars, and I am no exception to that rule. And I have a special policy by which I sell these things. They're sold with a guarantee. So if you buy one and you don't like it, just send it back to me, and then I'll send you an album that I don't like. That's fair,
All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thanks very much.
All right, Arn Arnson. Wow. All right. Well, let's see. Our next soloist was a very interesting instrument, a keyboard instrument, used mostly in classical repertoire. It's called the celeste or the celesta. And, but few people like to play jazz on it. Fats Waller, Don Redman, and Peter Yaron. They like to play jazz on the celeste. Let's hear that celeste. Ah, very celestial. Yeah. Big. He gets a lot of requests during Christmas time for the Nutcracker. Yeah, him and his little celeste. You see him on street corners. And for the Nutcrackers, he usually brings his chestnuts and plays chestnuts roasting on an open celeste. All right, that's terrible. What do you, hey, come on, I just made it up, as you can tell. Thank you. There you go. Hey, I reclaim my time. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. No, I'm sorry. Too much TV. The next soloist is, oh, that was me. That was me. And having a nice fight here with my bass saxophone. Let's call it bass saxophone, in case anybody knows. Thank you. Thank that one applaud. I appreciate you. One person applauding. That's all I need. But you know, our second rule in the Nighthawks wouldn't either request, but we talk about having a drink. We hope that you have a drink because the more you drink, the better it sounds. And the more I drink, the better I think it sounds. Let's see. How sweet it is. All right. Giving us all these wonderful, hey, find me some new jokes. Anyway. Playing all that wonderful percussion and a great solo that he did on the drums and some of the other amazing things that he has under his fingertips is a great percussionist, and that's Paul Wells. Paul Wells back there. Yay! And finally, a fellow that has played his violin and saxophone and arranged for so many different people. Garrison Keillor, Bob Dylan, Sir Paul McCartney, Asleep at the Wheel, and many others. Playing the phono fiddle, that's Andy Stein. Andy Stein. All right, thank you, Andy. Now, folks, I always like to talk about this newspaper because this is the only newspaper that I know of that covers this kind of older forms of jazz. Syncopated jazz, there's some ragtime here, there's some early swing, late swing, and they review it. They also have historical things in here that talk about people who created this music and sang it and arranged it, you name it. We have an ad in here, our little card, the Birdland card, and is a very helpful card, by the way. And as I've mentioned many times here, it helps at the table when you get those crumbs, you know, like you just kind of scrape them like that. And you might want to jazz up an appliance around the house. I'm told the toaster is good too, but don't leave it on too long, it might burn. But if you have the opportunity to buy Will's book, this makes a great bookmark. And let's see if we can get the bookmark into the book. Oh, did we do it? Yes, we did. Oh, look at that. I can't believe it. Ah, that was fantastic. Wow. He's going to be getting into magic next season. He's got the pigeons and the bunnies like there. Okay. What are we rolling? Okay. All right. Well, usually at this juncture, I look out there and I see a nice crowd, and I say, I wonder if anybody has an old music request they'd like to hear tonight. Don't all give me your attention now. Okay. Singing in the bathtub. Okay. Well, we had Darkness on the Delta and Singing in the Bathtub. Almost sounds like my life. But let me see if it's here. Singing in the Bathtub. Let me see if it's here. Hold on. Just talk amongst yourselves. And it might be a 500 number. Singing in the Bathtub. What is it? 525X. Remember those numbers. Okay. Let's see here. We need Singing in the Bathtub.
We think that's in the back.
Is it in the back? Okay, play the music, guys. Play the music. All right. Well, you guys sounded particularly good tonight on that. Not. Well, I'm sorry to say I did not bring Singing in the Bathtub with me. I'm so sorry. So you're going to have to accept my apologies. All right. So, but here is a tune with a lot of the same notes. All right. This was written by the great Richard Whiting, who wrote things like Hooray for Hollywood and Louise and many other tunes. It's called Breezin' Along with the Breeze. This is a 51X. You got that? Okay. And particularly here in New York, when it's been 102, we can welcome any breeze that comes by. So we hope this might move some breezes around. From 1926, Breezing Along with the Breeze. 1, 2, 1, 2. Breezing along with the breeze, trailing the rails, rolling the seas, like the birdies that sing in the trees, pleasing to live and living to please. The sky is the only roof that I have over my head, and when I'm weary, Mother Nature makes me a bed. I'm just going along as I please, breezing along, yes sir, with the breeze. Along with the breeze. Nice. Well, you might have noticed that our saxophone section changed instruments, and they got these shiny-looking instruments there. I hope they're shiny. They're called soprano saxophones, and they're related. We had a little talk there between the soprano saxes and the bass saxophone. I think you guys won the conversation, but not too many people play the soprano sax in trios anymore, and most people think about the soprano sax. Well, if you're an old person, you might think of Sidney Bechet, but today most people think of Kenny G. And truth be known, when we first started the band back in the 70s, we used to play this place called the Red Blazer, sorry. All right. Anyway, someone got it, and they didn't want it. But Kenny G used to come and sit in with us, and he loved to play with this band. But then he got really big and famous, and we're happy for him. He never comes around anymore. Maybe someday he'll come around. But in his absence, I've renamed our 3 saxophones of Kenny X, Y, and Z. That's right. There you go. That's the soprano sax. There you go. Thank you. All right. A little shtick from the old days. There you go. Now let's see. We had a request to do something and related to Hal Roach. I think we'll have time for this one. The guys, is 307 up, by the way? No. All right. Why don't we dig that one up? This is a very obscure piece of music that shows up in some of the Hal Roach comedies in the early 30s, and we're not even sure about the composer. It says Hal Rice, but it wasn't Hal Roach. He was not really a musician. Hal Rice, and this shows up most prominently in a wonderful short where Laurel and Hardy try to put up a radio antenna. It's called Hog Wild. Anyway, it's called For No Reason at All. For No Reason at All, X, that's right, For No Reason at All, by Hal Rice, okay? Is everybody ready? Okay, sorry for the last minute change there. 1, 2, 1. reason at all. And that was Dan Pearson on the tenor sax solo, and Peter Yaron. Well, I'm sorry to say we've run out of time. Yeah, we have to take a big break and say goodbye. So we're going to close off with another Joe King Oliver tune. This was called the Sugarfoot Stomp. Sugarfoot Stomp, and originally this came out when it first was written as the Dippermouth Blues. But when Lewis came to New York, met with Fletcher Henderson, they changed some keys, changed some notes, and the Dippermouth Blues became the Sugarfoot Stomp. And here it is. We want to thank you so much for coming tonight, and I hope you can come back to Birdland. I hope you can encourage some young folks to come and listen to live music. Try, and that's always good, and have a great time in New York if you're here for the first time. And here is the Sugarfoot Stomp. 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, play that thing!
About the front. Going on at the upper level, we have the Robbie Coltrane Quartet. If you'd like to stay with us, please see your host at the front. Here in Berlin, want to thank you for coming out to support live music, and please arrive home safely.